the RSPCA watched the thing, and now I've had a few complaints. All right.
Right.
Are you doing some sort of introduction at the start, James?
I've recorded that separately. It's fine.
I couldn't do deal with that.
That's a wise choice.
So yeah, that was recorded separately because I couldn't trust you guys to just sit there, be quietly through the whole thing. So yeah, for the whole series, yeah, I've got a separate introduction. All right, so it started recording now. For fuck's sake.
Snapshot business.
Right.
So yeah, got to react to that.
It's painful, actually painful trying to get. Matthew took a snapshot. I can't hear him.
How do you do that?
Right. Can we get started then?
Yeah, let's just get started. So yeah, when I floated this idea of top 5 players to you, I'll read these 2 text messages I got out like straight after I put the idea through. Bear with me. So the first message I got through was, can we do a podcast special on Grant Holt? I've got enough material we can talk about his time growing up in Carlisle, his stints at Barrow and Rochdale before becoming a Norwich legend. Everybody will want to hear about it. And then the next day, I had new idea, a podcast about how amazing Leroy Fer was in the 2013-14 season and his demise after he left Norwich. We can call it Only for One Season. And people will download that podcast. So, yeah, John, you can start us off with your 5 favourite players of all time then.
Start it with another Norwich legend. I'd have to introduce myself. Hello, I'm John. No, I support Norwich. They're not very good. I guess you lot all got into football a bit before me, really, because I didn't really hang around with anyone that really followed football in primary school or anything. So I didn't really have a team until I moved with my dad when it was probably like the 06-07 season, and he followed football. He was a Man City fan, who were rubbish at the time, and my grandma was a Norwich fan. So I thought to keep on the honour of my grandma, I'll be a Norwich fan, which I regret. My first player is Darren Huckabee. He was there for, he was my first player that I really liked because I was supporting Norwich, and he was by far our best player in that season, in the the 6-7 season.
Is that when he played in defence?
No, well, he was a striker. He was a striker at Leeds, but it was behind Mark Viduka. Went to Man City for like $5 million. He went for quite high transfer fees, really. And then we got him for peanuts and turned him into a left winger, and he just destroyed Britain.
I think he played on the left wing for Coventry for a bit as well, John.
Is it?
In late 90s. Yeah, I think he was when he broke in late 90s with Dion Dublin.
Yeah. Well, after his first season, he was linked with Liverpool, so he must have been good. Wow, legend. So yeah, 5 years at Norwich. Great player, one of my favourite players. He's the one that got me into football. My first player that I liked, really. My second player, again, these players are they're not the best players, but the ones that I like the most, is Miroslav Klose. Great player. He scored
I'm laughing at Max taking notes, sorry.
Yeah, I wrote some notes earlier. So, Klose, 2 Fair Play Awards, I'd like to point out. All right, he was a fair player like myself, so I kind of moulded myself. Fairness before everything. I should have at least 2 Fair Play Awards. Someone talking?
Yeah.
Anyway, 140 caps for Germany as well. So I followed Germany because of my mum's side. 70 goals, and he always uses that somersault celebration. So he's just a legend.
Was he the all-time top goal scorer for Germany?
No, it's Gerd Muller, isn't it?
I thought he might have overtaken.
Good, Muller. Yeah, bomber.
Yeah, there we go. All-time top goal scorer. And then the third one is Michael Ballache. Captain, fantastic. Half a fine player, but he played for a few clubs, so it was all right. He's just amazing. I don't really say anything about him. By far, Germany's best player in the past 20 years, I'd say. My fourth one, again, you can't really sum up this guy in words. He's just amazing. It's Alexander Tete. I mean, what can you say about it? 8 years at Norwich now. My notes on here I've wrote, he's shit, but he's good. I think that's... he isn't that good, but he's just... I don't know, he's good for us, so I love him just because he's so loyal. I'm surprised he's not left. He's like too good for Championship, but he's shit in the Prem, so I don't know where to put him. Probably back in the Norwegian League.
Scottish Premier League.
My fifth one. Wes Houlihan. It was a toss-up between Wes or Marco Royce, but I thought Wes is twice the player Royce is, so
Damn.
I've had to put him in there. Played over 300 times for Norwich. Scored 30 goals. There's a lot of attacking mid. And he's still playing at 37. 10 years at Norwich, and we swapped him. We got him for free on a swap for Matt Gilks. I mean, that's just business by Delia Smith. So there's my 5.
Delia Smith was instrumental to that deal, I hear.
I think Wes was a really underrated number 10 in his time as well. Like,
I mean, he could have been somewhere better than Norwich. He was there for 10 years, so I'm surprised we didn't lose him.
is that a picture of Ibrahimovic, Emma?
2 Jameses. So yeah, there's my 5. Any questions? Any? I don't know. What happens now?
Comments? Any thoughts?
Comments and thoughts.
I mean, I kind of gave a few in between, but yeah, like closer at the World Cups as well. Like, isn't he? I mean, again, I'm asking people like everyone's read up on stats here, but I think has he got the World Cup record for most goals?
Yeah, 16, isn't it?
Yeah. That's what I mean. So, I mean, stuff like that. Again, this is not right or wrong because it's who your personal favourite is, but like stats that speak for himself on a footballer, isn't it? Like top quality player.
Yeah.
And not saying the others aren't, because Michael Ballache, I think is really unlucky. I read this thing. It was on, I think, Sport Bible saw posted the other day. Like in the space of a thing, he lost it was like the Champions League final, the German Cup final. It was like no one's had a worse month than Michael Ballache, and lost all the finals within.
Never won a World Cup either, did it?
4 finals that year.
Yeah, it was something like that. It was just proper unlucky. But again, it doesn't speak. I think Michael Ballache as well. This might be a bit controversial, but I don't think the German team were as strong then as they are today. And I think he was sort of the shining light in a. I wouldn't say Germany never really have a weak team, but a weaker German team because they kind of just come through a transition period. They had Podolski and Schweinsteiger coming in, and he was sort of like the stabilizer of that team. And those players went on to be big stars, but he unfortunately his time came up, didn't it? Just
I've got one stat here about Ballack actually, right? I think he's underrated. Everyone sees him as a defensive mid, but he had 98 caps for Germany and scored 42 goals. And he had 100 caps for Bayern and scored 45 goals. So I
remember that season where he pretty much carried Chelsea towards a Premier League title. It was just between them and Man United, and Michael Barrett scored like every game for like the last 5-6 games or something.
They were playing him as an anchorman.
Yeah.
I think sometimes as well, you take a player like Ballack, it's not just like stats as in, I think there's some really good goal scoring stats, especially for a midfielder, but let alone that, like his influence on the players around him, I think is what speaks volumes to a player like Ballack. You know what I mean? Like when he's in the team, players around him play better. Like Germany, again, at that era, when he was, because he got injured, didn't he, and stuff. They never looked the same team with him not there.
No, I agree. Great player. All right, there's my 5. Thanks for your comments, James. Appreciate it.
If anyone else wants to chime in, please feel free.
Right, James.
I'm just happy there was a Dutchman there.
Right, James, we'll go to you. Are you going to answer this in gimmick or as yourself?
No, this is not in gimmick. This is me. I'd see. So I've done it in order. I don't know why I did it in order.
I think I've done mine in order as well, to be fair.
Okay, so I'm going to start with number 5. This was the one I had the most trouble with, but I've decided to go with Didier Drogba. So
Class.
I think Drogba in his era, as a complete striker, he could hold the ball up. He wasn't the quickest striker, but he had a bit of pace about him. He could score goals, he'd get him behind. And similar, for me, what I like about a footballer, like I said about Michael Ballack, is that influence they have on a team. And, like the classic example with them is that Champions League final. If that cross comes into anyone else, I don't think Chelsea score that goal.
No.
Drogba wanted that more than anyone else, and he dragged that team through.
Again, he was a player that could single-handedly win games and just drag teams to better.
Yeah. And every footballer has their flaws, and everyone was a massive Drogba fan. But at his time, I felt like he was probably one of the most unplayable players in the Premier League on his day. And let alone that, his charity work as well. I mean, built hospitals in Africa, built schools in Africa, because he used to donate all his sponsorship money used to go to his foundation to do that. So it just speaks volumes to the man as well, doesn't it? So that's number 5. Number 4, I've gone with Ronaldo, as in R9, because again, with this being our favourite, when I was a kid, my first World Cup was France '98, and I just remember him just being incredible. And then obviously the next World Cup was 2002, where he won the Golden Boot and stuff. But just that sort of era, I think anyone who liked football at that time wanted to be Ronaldo. The guy was unplayable, and unfortunately injuries plagued what would have been a staggering career, but I think it still is. And the fact that he's spoken about as Brazil's greatest ever striker, a country that's known for attacking footballers, really says it all. I'll go to number 3. This is where I do feel like a bit of a traitor putting this one down, because I don't like to go with everybody else, but I've gone with Cristiano Ronaldo because the amount of Ballon d'Or the guy's won, the goal scoring record again speaks for itself, and I just feel like the influence Ronaldo has on a team is incredible. So lots of people talk to big moments that Ronaldo's had, like scoring a free kick for Man U against Portsmouth, but there's other things that people don't talk about. So I remember in the World Cup, Portugal facing elimination, there's about a minute to go, and Ronaldo pulls out this worldy cross. They're playing USA, and they get a draw against the USA, but if that cross is coming in from any other player, they don't score. And it's just he pulls out, when there's a moment to deliver, he does it. So again, at the World Cup before, the 3-3 game, which I rewatched recently, when Spain played Portugal, and again, you're 3-2 down. There was, I can't remember, it was about 8 minutes to go. You're against your biggest rivals on the biggest stage, and he puts down a free kick, and then just you couldn't place it better in the top corner. But I think everyone's wanted to be a professional footballer in their life and played a bit of football, and the pressure you feel under when you do something in a moment like that must be escalated 100 by him in that moment. And the fact that he steps up and produces time after time after time, and again, another guy whose charity work is massive outside the game. My second choice, I've gone with Jamie Vardy. As a Leicester fan, probably Leicester's best ever striker. The fact that we've had some good strikers, but maybe not at the prime times of their career or whatever. But to win the league with Leicester, and just the story of Jamie Vardy, I think most people who aren't Leicester fans respect the fact of a guy that fell out of football, the struggle through, with non-league, then getting a chance to play in the Premier League, setting the record for most consecutive goals in the Premier League, and then obviously going on to win the title with Leicester. And then a lot of the players from that era, if you look at Riyad Mahrez and N'Golo Kante, were fantastic footballers. Danny Drinkwater, they all left the club for big moves. Vardy got the chance to go to Arsenal. It was talks of him going, and then he showed his loyalty and stayed. And I think, to me, that the loyalty to stay with the club, and he came out with a statement of something like, Leicester supported me when no one wanted to sign me, so I didn't want to leave them. And it's really weird because when I was trying to think about this, I knew we were doing this, I was thinking about like my favourite goal that Vardy had scored, and everyone assumes it's like the goal they set the record, or the goal against Liverpool, or one of these kind of strikes. I remember he scored against Man U in the season that Leicester got promoted to the Premier League, and it's his first ever goal in the Premier League, and it's always been my favourite Vardy goal. It's not a special goal or anything else, but it's just because it was his first goal in the Prem, and that story,
the one where he's running on through
because they were 3-1 down, and that made it 4-3. So it was just that big special moment, and that's always been my favourite Vardy goal. And then number 1, anyone knows me would not be surprised by this, is Henrik Larsson. As well as being a Leicester fan, my family being Scottish and a Celtic fan, you can't look past the king. Larsson's contributions at Celtic, I think when he left, he was the SPL all-time top goal scorer, which was since beaten by Chris Boyd. But Larsson's contribution on that Celtic team was just something else. They got to what's now the Europa League final. they did lose. I think he scored 2 goals on the night, and they lost to Jose Mourinho's Porto, which is no mean feat because I think the year later they went on to win the Champions League. And you know, some of the big goals. I think if you've not seen a last goal, you know, the chip against Rangers says it all. And then a lot again with Larsson. There's a lot of good players that play for Celtic, maybe early in their career or late in their career, but he was at Celtic in his prime. He was there for his best years, and on top of that, when he left, you know, there's always that question mark of you're a Scottish League footballer, you're not that good. And for me, I always felt like, you know, is it the case? Because he is world class at Celtic, but can he do it? And then he goes to Barcelona, and you know, it was quoted after the game by Henry that Larsson changed the game in the final against Arsenal and Barca, and that's the reason they won. And then even at, was he 35, 36 years old, he goes to play for Man United on loan, and he still looked a touch above. And recently Sky Sports did a transfer talk with him, and they went through some of his career. And they actually said that Sir Alex Ferguson said about Larsson, when he came to the club, he had this aura around him. And when he left the club, he still had that aura around him. And bear in mind, that Man United team a year later goes on to win a Champions League title. And for a player to, you know, past his prime, to come into that team and have an aura around him, says it all for the quality of the man for me. But yeah, so that's my top 5. If anyone's got anything to say.
I think, for me, 3 of your top 5, I would put near my bottom 5.
But that's why it's personal choice, though, isn't it?
I respect them. I respect them as players. Like Didier Drogba, again, incredible player, absolute bully. But he was a shithouse. And I hated him for it. And
there's certain players like that. I guess as a Leicester fan, Leicester weren't playing against Drogba at the time, and there's certain players who they play for your club, and you love them. I mean, I'm not a fan, but they play against your club and you don't like them, and with your club playing against them at the time, I can imagine why you would have, you know, more of a reason to dislike someone like that.
Game contributions, though, were crazy. Like his record at Wembley as well was unbelievable.
No, I mean, he was just a big game player, though, wasn't he? And again, but he is my favourite player. But for you to say you don't like him, but you can still see the quality of him, shows just how good a player someone like that is. You know, we're not talking about someone I don't like him. Actually, like, I think he's crap. He can't do this and that. It's like you need a big goal in a big game. You know, you might not support him, but you know he'll probably pop up and score.
Yeah, that is, like I said, I fully.
And also, he scored good goals as well, Drogba.
Oh yeah,
for me, he scored some absolutely, like. There's some great players who score goals, but they're just tap-ins or whatever. Drogba could score tap-ins, and he would score. You know, some of his free kicks and volleys were a different level.
I mean, like I said, he was incredible. He was, as Duddy said, he's a big game player. He scored all kinds of goals, banging them in from 30 yards, those bullet headers. And I do respect him, and it was hard not to hate him at some points because he was that good. But yeah, he was still a shithouse. I don't like him. And I'm similar to John in that I vaguely remember football in like '98, watching the World Cup and stuff like that. But I came in about around 2002, 2003 when I really started getting to it. So I missed like peak Ronaldo.
Yeah, like, I mean, as I said, the World Cup 2002 did win the Golden Boot, but I think he sort of started to. That was the tail end of him. You know, he had a good year or two at Real Madrid after that, but he was on the decline a little bit. So,
I missed.
Everyone remembers him for being so good and being one of the best strikers of all time. But if he hadn't have had that knee injury, where he was for so long, like his record would have been even better, and that's scary to think about.
A weird story I remember hearing about him. So I think he was at PSV, and I can't remember how old he was. He was still a teenager, I believe. So he got to, so he gets to Christmas, and they've set him targets. So he said, "I'm going to score 30 goals this season." So they get to Christmas, and he's only scored something like 10 goals, or maybe under 10 goals or something. And they were like, "Do you want to reassess that target?" You know, as a young lad, they don't want to sort of deflate. He was like, "No, I'll get 30 goals." And then by the end of the season, he hit the target. You know, he'd hit his target that he'd set. Whilst now there's not too many players that are scoring 30 plus goals, especially as a teenager. You know, you've got maybe Mbappe or someone, but there isn't loads out there doing that, is there? So.
On that PSV thing, I remember there was a bit on, I think, where Bobby Charlton was at Barcelona.
Yeah.
He was saying that they wanted a striker to sign, and they were like, "Oh, there's a kid at PSV who's got like 58 goals in so many appearances." And the board were like, "Really? You want to sign this kid? He's like 19." He was like, "Yeah, definitely." and obviously they did, and yeah, rest is
history, as they say.
Yeah, crazy.
Also, again, I'm going to put both Ronaldos in this category. There's certain players who, it doesn't mean they can't do this, but they do something at one club or one league, and like both Ronaldos, they travel around. So like Ronaldo was at Inter Milan, as in R9 here, was at Inter Milan. Proved it there, proved it at Ajax, proved it in Spain with Real Madrid, and again Cristiano. We've got his time now at Juventus, Real Madrid, Man United. Going in different leagues. It doesn't mean someone isn't world class, but just having that extra little bit to, because for again, this is my opinion. So I always think to be able to have an influence on different squads, because I'll be the first person to bring this up. It might come up again, but with Cristiano Ronaldo, the name that's always linked with him is Lionel Messi, and and people always say, who do you think's better, Messi or Ronaldo? And Messi is world class, and I'm not trying to say he isn't, and absolutely different level. I've been to Nou Camp, I've seen the Ballon d'Ors, big fan of Messi, but for me, the only thing that puts Ronaldo above Messi, and again, this is my opinion, doesn't make me right or wrong, but Messi is played in a world-class Argentinian team. And, the team that got to the final, top to bottom, had superstars. And there might be one or two where you go, question mark, but Ronaldo's won the Euros with, I thought to disrespect him, but Jose Fonte was playing centre back.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone would put him in a top international winning team. You wouldn't. The first name that's jumping out isn't Jose Fonte. So that Portugal team, and there are. Not say there isn't good players. Bernardo Silva's in there, and maybe one or two others. But I would call that an average Portugal team compared to like the standard of that Argentinian team that got to the final.
I think we'll cut it there because we can move on to a Messi Ronaldo debate anytime. It'll come up. Regardless amount of time, but
a life thing.
Yeah, it's going to rage on forever. I mean, for me, I don't like Ronaldo as a person. Still respect him as top 3 of all time. He is.
Exactly.
So, but just can't stand him as a person. He's just arrogant. But yeah, again, personal preferences. I'm a Liverpool fan. I'm going to hate anyone that's played for United, really, aren't I? Who was your last one? It was Larson, wasn't it?
Yeah. Larson.
Absolutely underrated. Obviously,
Underrated.
Scoring record at Celtic, obviously mental. It is the Scottish League. You can always have that caveat.
Keyword there's Celtic.
Yeah, you can always have the caveat that it was a Scottish League. I'm not saying that, but for the amount of players that have come out and said what a difference he's made and to their careers and everything, it is just
one of only a few players that's actually played with both Messi and Ronaldo as well.
It's just baffling to see how many people come out and speak so highly of a player who most of the world don't rate that much, I think.
I think he was underrated for, like I said, what he did and whatever. And again, it's because he was at Celtic for the majority of his career. But like I said, this stint with Barcelona, with Man United, and the fact that people still talk the quality out there. And he did well. I think it was a 94 World Cup with Sweden and whatever else. So, he did prove it on the big stage in those occasions. But he's always going to have that asterisk against him because of that. But again, with people saying whatever, it is your, personal choice. And as a Celtic fan, you can't look past Larson. No. And again, the influence he has on the players around him is just a different level. Like I said, the Barcelona final against Arsenal, he didn't start the game. He comes on as a sub and he changed the game. I think got 2 assists and Barca win the Champions League because of Hendrik Larsson. And that night, let's be honest, no one thought he was going to be the guy to make the difference. Yeah. They had Ronaldinho, they had Messi, they had Eto'o, they had all these players, and he's the guy that made the difference.
Thanks, James. Duddy. Okay. I've known you for 18 years. I'm still not quite 100% sure who you support.
Wow. Okay, we're going to bring this up already.
Yeah. So, how many different? Are you a Leicester fan? Are you a Leicester fan?
I am a Leicester fan. Okay. Yes. Although I've had many kits over the years, as these guys will tell you. So, bit of a collector. My top 5 aren't really in an order as such. I felt quite hard to do that really. So I'll start off with a bit of a Leicester legend, and that is Muzzy Izzet. Very difficult to pick for me between him and Vardy, but Izzet just edges it for me. 269 appearances for Leicester, 38 goals. Got him on a free as well, which is crazy. Like most of our team at that time, I think, in the O'Neill era, from Chelsea. But most people don't know we actually got him on a loan to begin with, not actually on a permanent deal. So glad we did. But I'll always remember getting one of my first Leicester shirts, and I needed to decide what player to have on the back, and I really wanted Izzet, number 6, and I spoke to my older cousin a few days later, and he was like, no, get Neil Lennon, number 7. Neil Lennon, number 7. So I went with his advice, and like 2 or 3 weeks later, bloody Lennon moves to Celtic. I was so angry. So from that day, like Muzzy Izzet, stuck with him, and one of his most iconic goals for me was 2002, Grimsby away.
Overhead kick.
Yeah, Andy Impey bombs down the right hand side, and Muzzy Izzet just absolutely walloped in the top corner overhead kick. It was legendary stuff. And obviously a memorable 3rd place in the World Cup 2002 for Turkey as well. So next is David Beckham. Guy who can pull off every haircut and fashion sense going, really. Really wasn't the only one, I don't think, but I used to spend ages in the back garden trying to take free kicks like him, and I would say quite underrated by a lot of people, really. The way he could put the ball anywhere the strikers did was a joke. The one memory that sticks in my head was Real Madrid. Gets the ball on the right hand side about 50 yards out and just pings it straight across to Ronaldo on his toe, and obviously finishes it with ease. But just the way he could put the ball on a sixpence for players was unreal. Obviously there was iconic Adidas Predators as well. Yeah. The tongue strap going with the boot. Oh yeah, quality player. 115 caps for England, and obviously that great free kick for England against Greece, Old Trafford. I think that's one of those moments where everybody will remember where they were. So yeah, great player.
I thought you were Irish.
It's one of those things that you're just never going to forget, are you? So next one is Zidane. And really, I just need to say 2002 Champions League final, Madrid versus Leverkusen, and the rest is history. Really, the way he swiveled on that ball for that, the way he swiveled on that ball for the volley was just ridiculous. And obviously signing off in the way he did with that iconic headbutt at Maserati in the World Cup final. Yeah, legendary stuff.
Everton player, I can have that.
Next is Ronaldinho. One player that I was glad that I got to be live when Barca played Leicester in a friendly at the King Power in 2003. What a player. Always played with a smile on his face. And one thing I think that's still going around social media now is when he was filming stuff for Nike on their Joga Bonito advert, and he was given these fresh pair of white and gold Nike Tiempos, and he casually just hits the ball against the bar 4 times in a row without touching the floor like it was nothing. It was ridiculous, but that Barcelona team he played in as well, and how close he was to going to Man United. Like Paul Scholes said the other day that he was like the players were in awe of him coming, and obviously to him to go to Barcelona was a bit gutting, really.
It would have been nice to see him in the Premier League, yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely. Last but not least, saving the best till last, Robbie Keane, Republic of Ireland, all-time lead goal scorer. I don't think I need to say any more, really. 2002.
Yeah.
But again, just these moments that just stick in your head, like 2002 World Cup, Ireland versus Germany. Sorry, John. 90th minute, Niall Fling, quick flicks it on, and Keane just smashes it near post against Khan. I still get goosebumps just thinking about it, really.
Did he do the iconic celebration after he did it?
Of course he did. Yeah, the roll, the flip, and then the guns as well. Just But what a player. And actually, a lot of people just remember him for say what that moment for sure. But some of the clubs he was actually at. I mean, I think he started off at Wolves. He went to Coventry, then actually went to Inter Milan by the time he was 20. And I think at that time it might have been for a record fee. I'm not sure. But the manager at the time, I think, was actually Marcello Lippi.
Yeah.
And he was saying that Keane was one of the best youngsters at that time. And unfortunately, at that Inter team, he had Ronaldo, Christian Vieri. So tough opposition. But yeah, and I think that's me. That's me done. So.
Taylor's about an hour behind. Going back to Robbie Keane, I always feel bad for him. His time at Liverpool. I absolutely love Robbie Keane. Great player.
Yeah.
And the fact is, he was bought to play with Fernando Torres, and that was the season we came.
He got played on the wing with, didn't he?
Yeah, it was the fact that he was bought to play with Fernando Torres, and he was either shunted out to the wing or he was playing up front alone because Torres was injured. So it never quite worked out. But he did play well in that time. People seem to forget. They always slate him for his time. Yeah,
Keane as well was just a really hard-working striker. Like he'd always put graft in. I think even if everyone has a good game and a bad game, but I think you always knew with Robbie Keane you were going to get 110% no matter what's going on. So, and you didn't really mention it, but his time at Spurs as well. Like he was around that time, he was one of the main guys at Spurs, and for a long time and 2 stints.
You have to say one of the best strikers in the world at that point when he was at Spurs first spell.
Yeah, so was he Crouchy? He had Defoe there.
Berbatov.
Berbatov. He played.
I think he was there with, Darren Bent, I think, might have been there as well at the time.
Yeah.
But again, with a lot of competition for strike places, and he was holding down a regular spot there ahead of, quality players.
Yeah. No, absolute legend.
Again, he's saying Beckham, he's quite underrated, but I think he's one of probably the most recognisable footballer ever, to be fair.
But I sometimes wonder if that's what goes against him, because I think people think of him as this off the pitch, he's too busy doing underwear shoots and
I think
get his quality on the pitch at times.
I think for that respect, he will always be seen as overrated by actual football fans.
Yeah.
Because he gets far more publicity than a lot of players that arguably did deserve more publicity. But yeah, he was still a great player. Again, another United player. I don't want to comment too much, but probably the best crosser of a ball I've ever seen.
I mean, I always think we have this thing in this country of we always say we have the best players, but there's not a lot of players that have come from the UK that have been able to go abroad and be successful.
Yeah.
Who have actually gone to Italy or Spain or whatever. He went to the Real Madrid team and helped them win the league. And there's been a lot of English players that have gone to Madrid who have not done as well. And I think he was just most successful one, really, wasn't he? In recent memory, anyway. There's there might have been a few in the 80s and early 90s.
But like you said with Drogba and Ronaldo as well, his charity work and all the stuff that he does outside of football as well.
He does come across as a very nice person, to be fair.
Yeah. So hopefully it'll be interesting to see what goes on with Inter Miami.
Yeah. So, see what players come in there.
Definitely.
Again, Zidane, I think it's unfortunate for him, finishing his career the way it did. Again, I liked it that he headbutted a former Everton player, but still, he would have liked something better for Zidane.
I think did he score that game as well?
Yeah, he scored the penalty.
Yeah, he scored the penalty.
So he scores a goal and gets red carded in the Champions League final. That's the way to be remembered, isn't it?
Typical Zizou, isn't it?
Yeah. But I mean, not just his time at Madrid, but that Juventus team he was in as well was crazy. Nedved, Del Piero, I think Cannavaro might have been there at the time. Trezeguet, just a ridiculous team, and one of the time greats, definitely.
Max, it's your turn, mate.
Let's trying to work out the emojis. Hold on.
He's been trying to work them out for 45 years.
Yeah, I did it. So I've not put mine in any order either. But I'll start with Van Nistelrooy. Not just because he's Dutch.
They are all Dutch players, though, aren't they, Max?
That's just a coincidence.
No.
Yeah.
No, I just think if you want an out-and-out goal scorer who's going to get you a game, he can't touch the ball for 89 minutes, but the 90th minute, if he gets a chance, he'll score.
Yeah.
9 times out of 10 offside, but that's just luck. I'm not going to talk too much about him because I've got something else I want to talk about more. Yapstam,
Quality.
absolute hero of mine growing up. He was crucial in the treble-winning season that Man United had, and that's when I first really got into football around that kind of age. So I was watching a lot of Champions League games, a lot of Premier League games, FA Cup, everything, and he just seemed pivotal to that title-winning season. Obviously, the Coles and the Yorks and the class of '92 and that they get a lot of the plaudits, but I think him and Ronnie Johnson as well at the back were good one, Taylor. were awesome at the back. And then I followed him throughout his career, read his book, followed his national career.
I've still got his book at my house, Max, that you gave me.
Yeah. Probably should have won more as a player, to be fair. He always seemed to go to teams when they were either failing and needed a transitional period, or going to a team that was on the come down. Like he moved to Lazio when Lazio were a decent team and they were kind of coming down by that point. But yeah, he's probably my favourite footballer of all time, to be fair. I'll move on to a non-Dutch player.
Wee.
Matthew Taylor. Never seen agility like it. Roy Keane. Just not the best technically gifted player. I think we'll all agree that. But if you want an out-and-out leader, Roy Keane will be that guy. I loved his battles with Vieira.
Yeah.
At Arsenal. I think they're just iconic moments of Premier League history that I don't think anyone that witnessed any of them would forget lightly. So yeah, I'll have to put Roy Keane in there as one of my favourite players. Ibrahimovic, just for pure talent and entertainment.
Yeah.
You know, if Ibrahimovic is on the pitch, something, whether it would be good or bad, something's going to happen. And he was just a joy to watch. He just had that magic touch, like the goal he scored at the new Wembley against England, where it wasn't going particularly great for Sweden, and he just scores that overhead kick out of nowhere. It's just like little things like that. And his old persona as well, and his character, I think it just made him a better player as well. See, I don't think anyone could believe in Zlatan more than Zlatan did.
No,
So,
not at all.
Johan Cruyff next.
Yeah, quality.
Obviously, never got to watch him live, but growing up, I watched a lot of recorded footage of him. And then now we've got all the archives online and everything. I've seen a lot more now. But it's not just his ability. That speaks for itself. He's one of the best players that has ever graced the game, no doubt. But it's just what he's done for football in general, and especially at our age. You think of Barcelona now, that team wouldn't be who they are without his influence as a player and then as a manager.
It's not even part of the conversation.
He's just overall just a great ambassador for football.
His legacy on the game to be remembered forever.
Yeah, and just what a player as well. I mean, you could be brilliant, but to have something named after you, like the Cruyff term, that's just going to last forever. I mean, that speaks for itself. And then this isn't my favourite player; it's just the fifth player, Paul Scholes. I think one of the most underrated English players. I think he was rated more by foreign players than he was English.
I definitely agree with that. Yeah.
I think he was probably our most technically gifted player we've had. maybe Rooney, but it was just your epitome of box to box. He was a small guy, but he put himself about. He scored so many goals as well, and he could just pick a pass. I think it's a shame it was part of that golden era for England that didn't win anything, but that's what you get for being English. Yeah, that's my players.
So I want to go back to Johan Cruyff, and I said earlier, Ronaldo would be my top 3. I think Johan Cruyff could possibly be number 1 in my top players of all time, as in the best. Like, he was incredible. Honestly, I think he was better than Maradona. I think he was better than Pelé. I'm just throwing it out there.
I mean, Max said it, and I said it at the time, but just like I said, the effect he's had on the game, the fact that he changed the entire style of football. You know, I mean, it's not just him; it has come from some of the Ajax academy and whatever. But just the fact that Barcelona tailored their whole thing around.
Yeah.
You know, he went to Barcelona, and that's the style that Cruyff implemented for them. And obviously, we've grown up in a really successful era for Barcelona, but you know, it comes from him. So there's lots of great players, but to have that impact on another generation, you know, it says it, doesn't it? I was with Max. I was going to say, speaking of your Dutch players, Ruud van Nistelrooy, I think doesn't get a lot of the credit he deserves, because when we talk about the way the game is now, Van Nistelrooy, and this is not a knock, he didn't really impact the game until it came into the penalty area.
Yeah.
And the guy was like a shark in the penalty area, you know, like he was a killer. But it's strange because now, you know, everyone wants to talk about the modern day striker. You know, they've got to hold the ball up, they've got to do this, that, and the other. And Ruud could do all those things, but what he was really known for is, like Max said at the time, he'd do nothing all game. You wouldn't see him, and as soon as he got a sniff in the penalty area, you know, even if you weren't a fan of Ruud van Nistelrooy or Man United or PSV or whoever he was playing for, you knew if he got a chance, he was going to score.
When you think of a proper poacher, you think of Mr. Roy.
Yeah,
definitely. And Henry was on fire at that point in time, and I think he picked Henry to the Golden Boot in Henry's prime. And most people call Henry, you know, one of the greatest players in the history of the Premier League, and you know, rightfully so, he is. But this was a guy that beat him in his prime.
Yeah. So I was going to come back to Ruud van Nistelrooy because, spoiler alert, number 5 on my list is Thierry Henry. So I was going to
have that debate.
I was going to segue into it nicely.
It's a rude for you.
Yeah. Stam, again, incredible player. Again, I think it's no spoiler to admit that Van Dijk will be in my top 5, and the effect that Stam had is very comparable to the effect that Van Dijk has had on Liverpool in this day and age. So again, a great player. I think I find it hard to comment on scores. Again, spoiler: Gerrard will be in my top 5. So he will win the debate for me.
A lot of spoilers.
Is that Anthony Gerrard? No.
Yeah, Paul Gerrard, Everton goalkeeper.
With Roy Keane though, a big word that I think is missing is just heart for Roy Keane. You know, like he was the heart of that Man United team, and you know, like I said, he wasn't maybe the most technically gifted player. I think his technical skills are underrated.
Yeah.
I think he did have some technical ability, but
it's just he
leadership. I think that was what he was head and shoulders for. You know, the work rate, the leadership, the fact that if someone wasn't doing something right, he would let you know, and he wasn't afraid to let you know.
And he was just a born winner.
He didn't give a shit about.
Yeah, he didn't care if he's going to hurt your feelings or, you know, if you weren't going to like it. You know, he was going to...
Just a winner.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He's just a born winner. He had that mentality that he was going to win at all costs. And I think the definitive moment for me, for Roy Keane, was that Juventus semi-final in the treble-winning season where he was already banned from playing in the final because he picked up a yellow card, and he was adamant to making sure United were going to get there regardless of whether he was playing in the final or not.
And he goes on to score, doesn't he? I believe he scored a header.
Yeah, United were 2-0 down. He scores a header to make it 2-1, and then they come back and win 3-2.
That's it. And like you said, you know, being suspended, he could have easily sort of switched off that little bit. Like, well, if we make it to the final, I'm not playing.
A lot of players would.
Throw in the towel. And by throwing the towel, it's like a mental thing, is it? Don't give that extra bit. But he was dragging the rest of the team up. And Juventus had a really good team at that time as well, and you play in Turin, so it's you're playing them in their back door. They're 2-0 up, and Italian teams don't concede 3 goals.
No.
It's not really a thing, and to go and do 3.5 was insane.
Yeah. I still resent him for walking out on Ireland in the 2002 World Cup though.
I think that makes me like him more, because didn't he punch Mick McCarthy?
Anyone who has a go at Mick McCarthy is a hero, in my opinion.
If we'd have had Keane, like who knows what could have happened. I'm not saying obviously we would win the whole thing, but like losing to penalties on Spain in the knockout round could have had an effect.
Put goals on the line, did he? You would have won the World Cup with Roy Keane. Just saying it now.
That's an unpopular opinion.
Yeah, so I'll segue into my top 5 now, and as I said, Max has mentioned Ruud van Nistelrooy, James, you've mentioned Drogba. To me, Thierry Henry, he's the best striker the Premier League has ever seen. I know Shearer scored more. I know Aguero. Don't look at me like that. But he just made the game look so effortless. Like, he could score every single type of goal, but effortlessly. Like, he'd glide across the pitch, he'd smash the ball in from 30 yards without barely moving his leg. And he is the only non-Liverpool player I've included in my top 5. But one of the best players I've ever seen. I know Duddy will have bad memories of him as well, but I think he was a running theme in my list will be that they're players that just make the game look easy. Like, I really admire that. Yeah, I admire that skill. Like, Maldini missed out on my list, but he was just phenomenal as well. Number 4, I've gone with a more recent player, current Liverpool player, Bobby Firmino. I know he's not everybody's cup of tea, and no, he's not the best striker in the world or anything like that, but he's absolutely vital to what Liverpool do and the way that Liverpool play. I think he's an absolute character as well, and there's a lot of characters missing in the game these days. But his ability to just make something out of nothing as well. Some of his assists this season have been absolutely insane. Just little Rabonas and back heels that have just come off and won his games from assists purely. 3rd place, Stevie G. I'm like listening to Alan Hansen here. I don't think there's a lot that needs to be said about Stevie. I think he gets a bad rap in the Lampard, Scholes, Gerrard debate. But the fact is, Gerrard played in a lot weaker team than Lampard and Scholes did for most of that debate.
That's why I don't won anything.
But he's responsible for some of my greatest footballing moments. I mean, yes, there was the slip. Yeah, there was the slip, but there was also that FA Cup final. I mean, that FA Cup final, he got an assist. West Ham smashes the ball in from 35 yards out with like a minute left to play, and there's not many players still going that could.
Known as the Gerrard final, isn't it?
Yeah, it is known as the Gerrard final. I've got it all. I've got the whole final on DVD. It's just an incredible game. Just one of the best like individual performances I've ever witnessed as a player. I mean, you could talk about that Roy Keane game again. That was again one of the best individual performances I've ever seen. But yeah, Stevie G obviously going to make my top 5. Number 2, Virgil van Dijk. Again, I love players that make the game look so easy, and easily the best player, the best defender in the world right now, and he makes it look so easy. He barely needs to make a slide tackle. He just knows how to read the game. So calm, so collected. Again, there's not much to say about other than the effect he's had on Liverpool now. It's transformed them so much. Arguably more than Gerrard did back in the day. We were so defensively weak before he came in, and look at us now. Like, we are one of the best clubs in the world at the minute, and I think part of that a big part of that is down to Virgil van Dijk. And I'm sure you all know who my top pick is Xabi Alonso. Again, Xabi Alonso could play football wearing a suit. He was just so good. Just absolutely effortlessly just ping the ball around the pitch. I know there'll be a lot of great passes on this list, and I've never seen anyone could pass the ball like Xabi Alonso was. I just loved his floppy hair, just loved his face. He was such a good guy. It's not gonna. And one of the worst moments in my life is when I had a signed picture of Xabi Alonso and gave it to Muggleton when she moved to Portugal, and I've never got it back, even though she moved back home.
Hey, she went there for a holiday, weren't she? There for
Yeah, I know. Never actually. Just robbed me. But yeah, that's my top 5.
I'll play the role of you, Jake, if you don't mind.
Yeah, go for it.
Think about Thierry Henry. I think that's a good way to start, and I'm going to use what you said about you got an era of where you talk about him, Shearer. There was with me saying Drogba. I remember thinking Drogba or Henry, and I think the fact that Arsenal have a statue of Henry outside of their stadium, and then he comes back to them and rejuvenates that Arsenal team when he was playing in the MLS. It just says it all about the quality of Thierry Henry. And let's be honest, he was signed as a winger. So you talk about these world-class strikers. He was signed as a winger, and then went on to become this striker because no one was looking at him to be. Nowadays we see a signing and he comes in for hundreds of million and everyone's looking at him to be a big star, and sometimes they produce, sometimes they don't. Henry wasn't labelled as that. People knew he had a quality about him, but he wasn't that. So, and again, Duddy, I don't know what your thoughts on Thierry Henry are. It might be slightly different to ours, but
no, I mean it's a difficult one. Like for that moment, yeah, couldn't hate a guy more.
Yeah. He's one of my favourite players ever, and I still remember that moment and been just filled with anger. I couldn't believe it had happened, but yeah.
I mean, he was just before we started this, he was doing an Instagram live with James Maddison, and he was saying that like people would compare him to like number 9s, but he didn't see himself as a number 9. And it's crazy to think like the amount of goals he scored and the contributions that he made to the team. He's not a phenomenal player, absolutely phenomenal.
And again, with Henry, I mean, Arsenal signed players today. I mean, Aubameyang is arguably their best player, and he said he wanted to go to Arsenal because he wanted to be like Henry. So they're signing people now based off Thierry Henry.
I remember when it was, I think it was 2007, the summer that he was leaving Arsenal. And it was like my prime, like Liverpool fanboy stage. I was going on the website every day and reading the forums and be like,
Jake, you've not got past this, don't lie.
Who are we going to sign today? And then everybody had this rumour like, Thierry Henry's been seen in the stadium. And I was like, oh my God, this would be incredible. Turns out it was Ryan Babel. And I love Ryan Babel, but it's not quite the same.
I was segueing into your next pick, and this is massive praise, but with Bobby Firmino, I think we'll look back in the same way people do. The only player I can compare him to is Dennis Bergkamp.
Oh yeah,
a player that's well and truly on a different level to everybody else. I don't think people appreciate how good they are until maybe after their career's done, and people look back and realise he makes the people around him much better players. And at the time, Bergkamp was, people thought he doesn't score a lot of goals, but then you see what his contribution is to the team around him. I think for me, Firmino is that, because Salah and Mane are world-class players, but I feel like the ball is played most of the time from Firmino.
Yeah. And
if he's not in the team, they don't quite look as good. Do you want to say something about Henry, Max?
No, you go on, mate. This is the James show, isn't it?
Max, if you want to say something, feel free, mate.
I thought we got Robs.
Yeah, just going back to the Henry thing. Listen, Henry's fucking class. One of the best strikers I've ever had. But if you ask me, who do I want up front out of Henry?
I know you're going to say Aguero.
Van Nistelrooy, or Bergkamp. Henry's at the bottom of that list.
Again, it's personal preference, mate.
Look at it. I mean, Bergkamp Bergkamp and Henry, they got together, didn't they? Them two played together, but Henry said he was nothing if it wasn't for Bergkamp. But I'm sure Bergkamp, wouldn't have won as many titles without Henry. So.
Yeah, I was just saying my bit. That was all.
You got anything to say about?
I see Firmino as in that Bergkamp style of player, as like a modern day version of that. And like you said about the Rabona again, Bergkamp would do maybe not Rabona, but he'd do these little flicks,
those special kind of goals that he pulled out.
Exactly, just a moment of magic out of nowhere. And
again, another phenomenal player that I'm surprised nobody's mentioned him, but yeah, Bergkamp was phenomenal.
I mean, again, he's one. I think maybe a few of you. I had that thing where I was like, I wanted to put on the list, but it was just trying to
fit him in.
Yeah, I had quite a few players like that. Like I wanted to put Sergio Ramos in for the same reason as like Van Dijk, that he was just so calm.
Yeah,
and he's like a new breed of centre back.
Shithouse.
Complete.
And no one else has dropped the cup like him.
He still had like that hot-headedness of old school centre backs, where like he's got a red card in him, and he's still human. He's got a mistake, but he was just so casual and calm on the ball and composed, like Van Dijk, which is why I wanted to put Van Dijk in as well. But for me, Van Dijk's still unproven.
Yeah, I get what you mean.
He's not like a long stay in the Premier League, is he? He's just come.
Yeah,
really.
I mean,
he was at Southampton. But
finished. He's just come as a big name. He wasn't a big name at Southampton, was he?
No, I completely agree with Max here. Like,
he hasn't won anything. Like in his career, what's he actually won?
Champions League, to be fair.
Keep going.
Premier League, basically.
Scottish Cup, Scottish League.
But no,
Arson's level.
I was going to.
I think it's easier to look back when someone's finished, though, isn't it? Stats.
And that's what I'm saying. But yeah, he's part of that new breed of centre backs as well. And I'd love to put Van Dijk in. If we do this again in 5 years' time, Van Dijk will probably be in there for me, because I think he's fucking awesome. But I just think he needs to maintain that level that he's been playing at, because even this season he wasn't as great as he was last season.
Oh no, he hasn't. No, I fully agree with that. And
so really, you're basing it on the one great season that he had.
I mean, it's also weird. Like, you see people like Vincent Kompany come out and say he's the best player, their best defender to ever play in the Premier League, and I'm like, Vincent, you're up there, mate.
But I think Van Dijk probably is, but Vincent Kompany probably would be, because he did it.
He's done it for a longer time,
Yeah.
And also, let's not forget, I mean, no one said Vince Kompany, but he was signed in the Man City team, but he was signed before they were actually Man City that they are today. He was signed in the I don't want to call him a weaker Man City team, but it's not the superstar team it became.
And they always talk about David Silva and Aguero being so important to Man City. I'd argue that Kompany was more important than the pair of them.
I mean, this season they've struggled without him, haven't they?
Not replaced him.
No, and again, it's not just as a player, but he was a big leader in the dressing.
What a goal he scored against Leicester as well.
Yeah.
Oh, what a goal! Unbelievable.
It is.
I mean, Leicester, but you guys got.
I remember on our group chat, I was going mental, like, why is Leicester letting that in? What are you doing?
As if anyone could save that goal.
Yeah, I was absolutely livid.
Yeah, back to Van Dijk. Yeah, I mean, I can see why he put him in, and to win the individual honours he's won as a defender. In this current era where it's all about like young kids and goals and what's cool and all that kind of stuff, for a defender to win it, that just speaks for itself, and he fully deserves it. But yeah, I just think for me, he would have to show.
Show what, Max? Show what?
He's got us on the edge of a seat. I think I'm going to speak for. We obviously show it for a period of time, isn't it, over years?
Yeah. No, I fully agree with.
Going back to the Henry thing very, very quickly. When Max touched upon the fact that obviously you've got the Cruyff turn, but the fact with Henry, like as a kid, like the amount of like people you used to see cutting him from the left, and as soon as you'd see, Henry finesse it. Far corner, bit like Jared on the edge of the box.
There were so many staples to Henry's game. Like again, like you said, cutting in. is that pass, that fake pass he does, where he goes to kick it and then like passes with his standing leg. That like
Again,
stuff
as
like
we've
that.
gone back to Henry as well. I mean, if there's a goal that someone's not seen as well, like that goal against, that caught Barthez off guard. Like, again, we say about there's someone who scores goals and someone that can score goals and score quality goals. I mean,
someone
that goal is just
who
different level.
loved scoring against Man United, so I can appreciate
that. Seeing as Gerrard was on your list, Jake, and we've had Paul Scholes come up, we've got Gerrard, a world class. I think no one would doubt that, a world class footballer in his day, and the influence on and not a very strong Liverpool team. There was strong Liverpool teams at that time, but compared to what we're looking at today and the Liverpool teams of the 80s, he was in a not the best Liverpool team, and he was head and shoulders carrying that team for a long time. With the debate again, you got Scholes, Lampard, and people talking about that era. What's your take on Gerrard compared to, with Frank Lampard and Scholes? That's not saying they're not quality players, but people have different opinions. What's your thoughts on that, Jake?
You've really taken over this podcast, so I like it, James.
I'm not even in character.
You're not in character, no. You've just taken over leading it.
Maniac.
Sorry, repeat the question. I was laughing in my head.
Talking about, you've got Lampard, Gerrard, Scholes, and the big talk at that time is these English players, and who's better and why. With Stevie, you sort of said he speaks for himself and whatever else, but I just wanted your thoughts on, because I assume Gerrard's your pick out of that. And what? Then it's not saying you don't think Lampard or Scholes are a good player, but why is Gerrard better than those two world-class midfielders?
I think because Gerrard was the better player overall. I mean, there was a lot that Scholes was better at than Gerrard, and there was a lot of stuff that Lampard was better at than Gerrard. But if you're looking at overall, Gerrard could tackle, Gerrard could pass, Gerrard could score goals from everywhere, score all kinds of goals. Whereas Lampard, average tackler at best. He had his moments passing. I say there were some good passes in there, but most of the time it was his runs from deep that everybody remembers, his goals that he remembers. Again, Scholes, one of the best passers. Again, I love those effortless kind of players that could just stand there and ping the ball around for days, like Pirlo and Xavi and Alonso and so on. But Max was right in that Scholes does get hyped up by the foreign players, but it's not as appreciated here. And I don't know what that is. I don't know if it's
Xavi said he's the best he's played against, isn't he?
Yeah. I don't understand that. Xavi's played against some of the best players in the world, and it's high praise to say that Scholes is the number one. But again, I don't understand it.
Scholes had the least caps as well, didn't he, for England out of that group?
And Scholes would be third out of those. I mean, look at he had the privilege of a better team than both Liverpool and Chelsea did over a long period of time. He was carried by a lot of players. Like, if Keane wasn't there, would Scholes have been able to do some of the work he did?
But we don't know, do we?
No, exactly. You can't say that now, but you know what I mean. I think Scholes, again, incredible player. He was. Couldn't tackle for shit. But there you go. But yeah, Gerrard was just complete compared to the other two. I think that's what it is.
Gerrard has a leadership as well. I always think that the other two don't have. Maybe that was because he was in not as strong a team. I'm not sure, but he just had that. And the fact that I know Jake. I remember watching Liverpool games with Jake around, sort of like the late 2000s, and they'd be behind. You go, it's all right, Stevie will save us, and you just have that influence on the fans of a club. I mean, like that's a special.
It did have a negative effect on us for a few years. I remember that Chelsea game that he slipped over. He just thought he'd single-handedly saved the day after that, and if he just trusted the other player, I mean, that was when we had Suarez, Sturridge at peak form, Coutinho, Sterling. If he'd trusted any of those, we might have been able to get the win out of Chelsea. I know they parked the bus and everything, but Gerrard did decide, I'm going to save the day here because I've made the mistake, and I think that did detriment us at times. But again, still, Stevie was a complete player.
Yeah, 100%. And I just don't want to overlook it. Xabi Alonso. Oh, sorry.
Sorry, what was that, John?
Is Taylor doing his?
No, because we can't hear him.
Oh, right.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can actually. So you can. Come on, I'll bring you in. Bear with me.
Just quickly, while you're bringing him in, Xabi Alonso was the best player I've ever seen play live. I watched Leicester versus Real Madrid in a friendly, and I remember telling you this afterwards, Jake.
Yeah.
And it was obviously Alonso playing for Real Madrid, and everyone was looking at Cristiano Ronaldo that day and all these other players, but Xabi Alonso,
He's just so
again, he was
intelligent.
pinging 60-yard balls, inch perfect, and like you've said it before, just makes it look easy.
James, you're the best pundit I've ever seen live, mate.
Really coming to his own in this.
Waiting for a call from Sky.
That should be your new gimmick. You should just come out and just comment on football when you could do your wrestling matches.
Yeah. I mean, no wrestling fan knows anything about football. What's the problem?
Right, Taylor.
Taylor, you've been slagging everyone else's stuff all night. So you're
Right, go on.
Yeah.
Your top 5 then.
Roll safe. Anyway, so it's not in any order specifically, but I'll go through it. So I want to say that Andrea Pirlo has got to be up there with one of the best players that I've kind of seen from it in the last probably 15 years or so watching football. Yeah, I mean, with him playing for AC Milan, with him then going to Juventus, he's a standout player, world-class player. He really pulled the strings for me when we were watching Champions League football. Really dominated at one point in international football as well. I mean, he's a world champion. I mean, in 2006, I was watching the replay of the final in 2006, and just the kind of the vision that he had was unreal. He was an excellent free kick specialist. He used to really turn Italy on, really, when he was playing.
What a funny way of putting it, mate.
I mean, he was just, for me.
I mean, he was a good-looking man. Don't get me wrong. But
he was a good-looking man, but also the fact is that it was just more finesse with him. It just looked effortless. Every time when he had the ball, you kind of always. I kind of thought when I was looking at him play on TV. He always made things look so simple, but yeah, he was so effective, and he was very loyal. He stayed in Italy, and then obviously went to the MLS. He's a player that I would have liked to have seen play in the Premier League. Looking at the teams in from 2006 to 2011, when he was kind of at his peak, where would he have kind of slotted into kind of any of those top 4 sides, or who would really have wanted him to come to the UK really to play here? So yeah, that's him. Next player is Kaka. What a player he was. I mean, he's a chap as well from Italy. Played in Italy. He was at Milan for quite some time. There's a really good one of the best performances I think that I ever seen was when he beat Man United in the semi-final of the Champions League. He just absolutely destroyed Man United, even at Old Trafford. It's one of the classics on BT Sport. And there's a moment where I think it's Gabriel Heinze and Rio Ferdinand.
They just clash into each other. It's hilarious.
And they clap into each other. But because of his deceptive movement and how kind of his pace, I mean, it was just really good to see. He was someone who was, attacking midfielder. He got the ball. He wasn't scared to run with it, and he had some real good flair. I mean, he played with some really good players as well. Don't forget. I mean, he was in the Brazilian squad. He won the World Cup in 2002. And then they went back in 2006, and it wasn't kind of their chance to retain it. But I mean, he's a player who's won the Champions League. I mean, I remember, I hate to say it, Jake, in 2007 when Milan got their revenge. Well, they say they got their revenge when Inzaghi scored those 2 goals. Kaka
born offside. Inzaghi was born offside.
But Kaka was the man who really took the team.
Yeah.
Hey?
Sorry.
Yeah, but I mean, he in 2007 he won the Ballon d'Or. He was the last player before that. The last how many years we've had Messi and Ronaldo just take it on, and it's been a bit kind of the same, but he was the last player in 2007 to kind of do that. I mean, he had a good spell at Real Madrid. He kind of went there, but he's someone for me. I'd say he's won a World Cup. He's won the Ballon d'Or. He's won the Champions League. He's had a successful career. So he's a pretty good player. And did anyone see when he played in that five-a-side?
Well, that's what I was going to say. Any player mentioned on this that's been megged in a side in London.
Yeah, I'm sure some guy megged him in South London.
From London's nutmegged him. I don't know if no one else can say that.
I know. Imagine that if you've been able to nutmeg him, But
again, there's not many players that turn up to play in a five-a-side in London when they're that level, are they?
No, I mean, what I like about him, he's really humble. Like, quite a lot of the Brazilians are either two ways kind of way. He's one of those. He was really kind of humble. So
he tithes, doesn't he? He gives away about 10-20% of his wages.
Yeah, he does indeed. Yeah, so I mean, good at that. So number 3, well, I'm saying it would be number 3. Is I've gone for Lionel Messi. Obviously we've last how many 10 years. Well, he came out properly on the scene in 2005, 2006. I think he's in my opinion one of the best players to ever kind of play football, and I think that the debate between him and Ronaldo is going to be going on for years to come. What they've won in their international careers, what they've won in their club careers, what they've done individually in terms of Ballon d'Ors and success, their loyalties and all of those things. One of my favourite moments of watching Messi, one of his great performances, is when he beat in 2011 when Barcelona played Real Madrid in the semi-final, and he literally took them to bits, and out of nothing he turns the game around. One of my other favourite moments is, there's no surprise in this, is when he put 4 past Arsenal. That was a great moment. I tell you what, I watched that a lot, and I tell you what, Arsenal were like all over the shop that day. And even when he came to Wembley, when he played against Spurs, I was reading that today actually about Danny Rose. Was saying that Pochettino said to him that when they were playing the second leg, he was saying, "Don't kick Messi, because if you kick Messi, he's going to get angry." And so he that's the respect for people that have for Messi. I think that in terms is everyone says that a lot of people have, if he were cut, they would say he's the best player to ever play football. It's a big kind of debate. I'm not too sure how people kind of think of that. But hello. Yeah, sorry, it's my internet. So a lot of people say that if Messi is to win a World Cup, will that define Messi as him as a player? I'm not too sure, but we'll see whether on that one. So the next one is Andres Iniesta. He was, like I said, he was dominant. What a player he was to watch on TV. And I messaged Jake. It came up in a memory about how long ago. Sorry, it was about 10 years ago since when they knocked out
that volley.
Chelsea in the semi-final. That volley that he smashed in. What a moment we shared that day, Jake. That was great to knock Chelsea out.
Carling.
But overall,
I remember drinking a lot of Carling that day.
For me, I put Pirlo and him in there, but Iniesta was just such a creative player. He kind of glided with the ball. He was just a delight to watch. Watching him play with people like Messi, Xavi, and co. He's a world-class player in my opinion, and he was a member of that dominating Spanish side that they won a World Cup, they won Europeans and so forth like that. and he's really proved his worth. A lot of people have said, would he have made it in the Premier League? A lot of these players from kind of playing in the Spanish league, are they kind of able to come and adapt and play over here? That's for you guys to kind of think about as well. Now, the last man on the list is Jermaine Defoe.
Fair enough, yeah.
What a player Jermaine Defoe is. Okay, so for me, as a boy growing up, like we said, Jermaine Defoe starting out at West Ham and coming around and then coming back, going to Tottenham, going to Portsmouth, and a delight to watch as a player. He's my favourite Spurs player. I think he should have got more time playing for England. He wasn't really, appreciated in my opinion. He's a member of the 100 Club in the Premier League. So he's a proven striker. He's someone who, on his day, was unplayable. He was untouchable. Heskey was a bad man at that time as well. But like I said, he was my favourite player. I used to have these pair of F50s, white F50s, Adidas boots, and he was the one who inspired me to get them. And obviously, in 2009 when Wande Ramos came in, they sold him off. He went to Portsmouth. Then Harry came back, and then they took him in again in 2009, and then he went through play Champions League football. When we beat Wigan 9-1, that's a big thing to Tottenham Hotspur to beat Wigan 9-1. And he was one of the guys he was bagging goals for fun that day. So I think he could have got more of a look in the England setup. He's a well-respected guy. I know he's done quite a lot of fundraising. Obviously, with that Sunderland fan that passed away, the young Sunderland fan Bradley Lowry. So he's got a heart of gold. And for me, he's probably one of my most favourite players of all time, and he deserves the credit in the Premier League. So that's it.
Right, I'll start with Kaka. It's easy to forget how good he was. He was better than Messi and Ronaldo at one point. Just everybody laughs. Okay, cool.
I feel like he fell off the radar a bit around.
Yeah, it's when he went to play at Real Madrid that he just went off the board.
He was in Ronaldo's shadow.
Yeah,
wasn't he?
It didn't help.
Yeah.
It should suited his personality. I think. Again, he's quite a humble, down to earth, quite unassuming guy. I would have thought being in someone's shadow wouldn't have made that much of a difference.
No.
I suppose when the balls go into that other player all the time, though, it might be hard for him to influence as much as he was at Milan or somewhere.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, you're right. Ronaldo at that point was breaking through as well, wasn't he? So when he went there, it's difficult probably to outshine him, isn't it?
I keep going through my Tinder as sitting in.
What?
I just keep stop focusing and just looking at Tinder.
Wait, fam, are you on Grindr or something?
You are looking for Defoe.
Sorry, carry on, lads.
Yeah. So that's Kaka then. Yeah. Anyone else?
Messi and Iniesta speak for themselves, really.
We've already covered Messi a few times. I'm surprised nobody else has picked Messi in the top five. But we've spoken enough about Iniesta.
Yeah. Class. Pure
class.
Just someone who I think he was just such a clever player.
He's that kind of player that's described as playing with wing mirrors. His awareness of what was around him, his situation.
Him and Xavi together were just unplayable.
Unbelievable.
he scored the winner in a World Cup final as well. Let's not forget. So there's not a lot of players that have done that.
There's not a lot of players that can, do
Why you got to bring that up for?
Sorry, mate.
Scored many more goals and better goals.
I know, but it's a big goal in a big game, isn't it?
I remember how angry Max was that day.
I remember how angry Max
that
was
like
that day.
absolutely kicking off because the Spain won the World
Did the
Cup.
extra off my game when we got home.
It was like Spain are always diving, like they're never usually like this. So it's just when we played them today. De Jong tried to kill Alonso.
That was bad.
10 years ago, that was a fair tackle.
Fair tackle. What have you lot been smoking?
Another player you mentioned, Taylor, who's absolutely world class. Andrea Pirlo. He's someone I was toying with putting on my list.
He's very similar player to Alonso, and
yeah,
they're pretty much the same player. Ian Pirlo was quality again.
What? What did you just say? You said they're pretty much the same player.
Yeah, so, like, same type of player.
No,
Hey, look, I love Alonso. Alonso's probably one of my favourite Liverpool players ever. He's not the same as Pirlo.
Pirlo's better.
Yeah. I'm not saying Pirlo isn't.
They got similar traits.
Yeah, that's what I was getting at. I wasn't saying that Pirlo was a better player or anything. I've got saying that they're the same type of player.
Yeah, I mean, like
Milner and Gerrard.
I mean, Alonso, I can say, I think that but you are right, there are some traits with Alonso. I thought that Alonso was more of the workhorse, whereas Pirlo was someone who was just always free, maybe. Yeah. I think that, if you wanted someone to ping, the ball, you would be looking to get the ball to Pirlo every time. Whereas I don't
call him the architect.
They call him the architect, and I mean, Paul Pogba said that when he was playing with him when he was at Juventus, he said that his vision, he doesn't need to look up. He just gets the ball. He knows where everything is, and he makes the right decisions. Paul Pogba is he's someone that a lot of people have. I've heard it in the past that said that Pirlo kind of carried him a little bit when he was playing in that midfield, and that he depended on someone like that. And then when he came to Man United, he didn't have someone around him to kind of play that kind of role. Huh?
He depended on Herrera last season.
Yeah. And
it's not the same bracket player, is it?
It's not the same player, is it? Someone who's kind of finesse. It's like Granit Xhaka. I don't know why I said Granit Xhaka, but he's led.
It's a player that doesn't deserve to be spoken about tonight.
He's fucking led. But Paul Pogba, in all honesty, I remember when they lost in the Champions League final in 2015. And
we watched that game together. I remember.
Yeah, and that was all that speculation. Pogba's going to go to wherever he's going to go to, and he was like, as long as Pirlo was currently playing, he was like, I'm happy to stay here. And probably made his life a lot more easier, and that's from someone who's probably 10 years maybe younger than him, than Pirlo at that point. I mean, he did really well. Like I was checking on his stats. He's 40 years of age, and he was still playing a good level of football up to 36, 37. So he must have really looked after himself.
I just want to say, boys, I appreciate the homework you've all put in.
I remember watching.
No, I didn't bother with this kind of homework.
Yeah.
Oi, Alan Hansen, calm down, yeah. Anyway,
but no, Pirlo live. When I went to New York a few years ago. He was, I think, in his second or third season for New York City, and he was just. I know it's MLS, and the actual level of football is nowhere near as good as some of the teams he's played in, but. Just the way he dictated the ball, he always had space around him, and I was getting so excited just to be because we had ridiculously close seats, And it's like, oh yeah, it's Pirlo. And some people around me like, yeah, who's this guy? They've obviously never been to a football match before. And it's like, really? Like, it's one of the most iconic players. But yeah, what a player.
Jermaine Defoe, most underrated striker in the Premier League.
Oh yeah.
Listen,
I mean, I like Jermaine Defoe.
I love Defoe.
Defoe was one of the best players.
He could play in any team and he'll still get you 15, 20 goals a season.
Yeah, definitely.
Crouch is the most underrated striker in the Premier League. Crouch was good.
I love Crouch, yeah, but nah.
Everyone knew Defoe was
Crouch
good.
was there. So Crouch was good.
Yeah.
But,
I think you were right there, Taylor. You said Defoe didn't get the look in England. I seem to remember a period where he'd come off the bench every game for England and it felt like he'd score every time he came on. And I remember thinking, why is England not starting this player? You know, in the Premier League, he'd be second or third top goal scorer. He's scoring every time he's on the pitch. It's like, what more can you do?
It's because Nugent stole his goal that time.
Just didn't seem to want to go with him. But
yeah, Nugent stole his goal that time.
Had to get knocked out by Germany and they brought Heskey on instead of Defoe.
Game changer.
He understood the phone stuff.
But like you did say, he's part of the 100 club like Defoe, so they probably thought they got the same amount of goals in them.
Yeah, Heskey was class, man.
Heskey was
different type of player though.
Heskey was a bad man though as well. So, but I mean, Jermaine Defoe, like I said, he's someone who's, you know, for me, he will always go down as a great player. Like all of my family, we're all big fans of Defoe. You know, like I said, does anyone remember, James, you must remember them white F50 boots I had.
Oh, mate, when you were talking about them, I remember them vividly.
Jermaine Defoe had them on, and I was like, right, I need to get me a pair of them F50s. And then,
With Defoe as well, something you said earlier, Jake, not about Defoe, but using that with him is you've got certain players who play in teams and they've got world-class players around them, they look good. Defoe, like that Sunderland team he was in, is far from classed as a world-class team.
And again, he carried
it. And he was scoring quite a few goals in that Sunderland team. And, you know, like the Portsmouth team was all right. But Defoe never got that big move to a top four club or, you know, one of the major big boys. And, you know, nothing against Spurs, but they've never been classed in that bracket, have they? But yet Defoe would have a goal scoring record that matches players that are playing for those clubs. So he's getting less chances than those players, but his goals, his goal scoring record's on the same par.
Were you saying something, Max?
No.
Fair enough. Anybody got anything else to add?
I just want to go back to what Diddy said about that Ronaldinho advert. That was actually fake.
He spent like the last half an hour Googling it.
There's lots of things to note with Ronaldinho. You've seen those stuff where he just kicks the ball straight up in the air and controls it out of nowhere. Those fake touches he does are just insane. Like if you're going to watch a video there, you watch those. There's one where he just kicks it up, controls it, and then just makes one of the coaches. So you've just ruined Duddy's night there, John.
Duddy, you look really crushed, mate. I'm sorry.
I'm gutted.
I was Googling it whilst he said it, so it just never looked real, that didn't.
No, I didn't.
He's going to be on my most 5 hated players now.
Speaking of adverts, you remember that one where it was Ibra versus Cristiano Ronaldo and they kept doing the skills between them?
Yeah.
Fake.
Or was it a player that got mentioned tonight who was close to making my list? I remember they did Robin versus Ribery, and Iron Robin as well. Top quality player. I really thought he was going to be in your list, Max, to be honest. But
I was going to say,
but I had too many Dutchmen in there already.
What was that, John?
Just someone else that's missed out is Dion Dublin.
Yeah.
He was nearly on my list.
Robin, you mean Leighton?
What's he say?
Taylor just wrote, "Do you mean Leighton?" with Iron Robin.
Right, I think we'll leave it there, lads.
We're going to talk about Marlon Harewood.
We're not talking about Marlon Harewood. That's definitely one for John's series of podcasts. You can talk about that between yourselves. So,
Marlon Harewood and Charlotte Amiobi.
Amiobi!
Thanks for sharing your thoughts, guys. I hope you've enjoyed this little chat.
Cheers, Jake. Thank you.
No one enjoyed it. No. just absolutely ignore that comment.
Yeah, I had a great time, Jake. Yeah.
Yeah. Do another one.
You want another one? Fair enough.
Yeah,
We'll talk about it.
Do five-a-side teams. Your best five-a-side team.
Yeah,
It's a good shout. Yeah, if we organise it for sometime next week, then we'll do another one on 5-a-side teams. Yeah.
If these were all five-a-side teams, I would have got battered.
Nobody's included a goalkeeper though.
See you later, lads.
Victory for
Right,
John.
see you.
See you in a bit, lads.
See you later, lads.